did the world's richest empire collapse? The rise and fall of the Spanish Empire. For centuries, the Spanish Empire stood as one of the most powerful and feared empires in the world. At its height, Spain controlled vast territories across Europe, the Americas, Africa, and Asia. Gold and silver flowed into Spanish ports from the New World, enriching the crown and turning Spain into a global superpower. Spanish explorers crossed oceans, conquered civilizations, and spread their influence across continents. But despite its enormous wealth and military power, the empire eventually collapsed under the weight of war, economic problems, and political decline. The story of the Spanish Empire is one of ambition, conquest, glory, and ultimately, downfall. The rise of Spain began in the late 15th century during a period of major transformation in Europe. Before becoming a unified kingdom, the Iberian Peninsula was divided into several Christian and Muslim states. For centuries, Christian kingdoms fought to reclaim territory from Muslim rulers in a conflict known as the Reconquista. In 1492, the Kingdom of Granada, the last Muslim stronghold in Spain, finally fell to the Catholic monarchs, Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand of Aragon. Their victory unified much of Spain and marked the beginning of a new era. That same year, another event changed world history forever. Christopher Columbus, sailing under the Spanish crown, crossed the Atlantic Ocean searching for a western route to Asia. Instead, he reached the Americas. Although Columbus did not realize it at the time, his voyage opened the door for Spain to build one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. Spanish explorers, known as conquistadors, rapidly expanded Spanish control in the New World. Men like Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro conquered powerful civilizations such as the Aztec Empire in Mexico and the Inca Empire in Peru. Using advanced weapons, alliances with rival tribes, and the devastating impact of European diseases, relatively small Spanish forces managed to overthrow massive indigenous empires. The conquest of the Americas brought unimaginable wealth to Spain. Huge amounts of gold and silver were extracted from mines in Mexico and South America, especially from the famous silver mines of Potosi in present-day Bolivia. Treasure fleets transported these riches across the Atlantic to Spain, making it one of the wealthiest nations in Europe. Spanish wealth funded grand palaces, massive armies, and ambitious military campaigns. At its peak during the 16th century, the Spanish Empire stretched across the globe. Spain controlled territories in Europe including parts of Italy, the Netherlands, and regions of modern-day Belgium. In the Americas, Spanish colonies covered enormous areas from present-day California to Argentina. Spain also established influence in Asia through the Philippines, creating a global trade network connecting Europe, the Americas, and Asia. Religion played a major role in Spanish expansion. Spain saw itself as a defender of Catholic Christianity, especially during the Protestant Reformation in Europe. Missionaries traveled alongside conquistadors, spreading Christianity throughout the empire. Churches, cathedrals, and religious institutions became central parts of colonial society. The Spanish military became one of the most powerful forces in Europe. Spanish armies dominated battlefields for decades, while the Spanish Navy protected trade routes and colonial possessions. Spain's influence was so strong that many European powers feared its growing dominance. However, beneath the empire's wealth and glory, serious problems were beginning to grow. One major issue was Spain's dependence on precious metals from the Americas. While gold and silver made Spain incredibly rich, they also created economic instability. Instead of building strong industries and diversified economies, Spain relied heavily on colonial wealth. Massive amounts of silver caused inflation across Europe, reducing the value of money and weakening the Spanish economy over time. Continuous warfare also drained Spanish resources. Spain became involved in expensive conflicts across Europe, fighting rivals such as England, France, and the Ottoman Empire. One of the most famous events was the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. King Philip II of Spain sent a massive fleet to invade England and overthrow Queen Elizabeth I. However, bad weather, strong English naval tactics, and logistical failures led to a disastrous defeat. The loss of the Armada damaged Spain's reputation and marked the beginning of its naval decline. The Dutch revolt became another major challenge. The Netherlands, which was under Spanish control, rebelled against Spanish rule during the late 16th century. After decades of brutal conflict, the Dutch eventually gained independence. This weakened Spain economically and politically because the Dutch Republic became a major commercial rival. In the 17th century, Spain's decline accelerated. Corruption, poor leadership, and economic mismanagement hurt the empire. Spanish kings often spent enormous sums on wars and royal luxuries while the economy struggled. Heavy taxation burdened ordinary people, and agricultural production declined. Meanwhile, other European powers were rising. England, France, and the Dutch Republic expanded their naval and colonial power, challenging Spanish dominance around the world. Pirates and privateers frequently attacked Spanish treasure ships, disrupting trade and reducing profits from the colonies. The War of Spanish Succession in the early 18th century further weakened the empire. After the death of the childless King Charles II, European powers fought over who would inherit the Spanish throne. Although Spain survived as a kingdom, it lost several important European territories and much of its influence on the continent. Despite these setbacks, Spain continued to control large colonial territories in the Americas for many years. However, by the late 18th and early 19th centuries, independence movements began spreading throughout Latin America. Inspired by the American Revolution and the French Revolution, many colonies demanded freedom from Spanish rule. Leaders such as Simón Bolívar and José de San Martín led revolutionary movements against Spain. One by one, Spanish colonies in Latin America declared independence. By the 1820s, Spain had lost most of its American territories. This marked a devastating blow to the empire. The final collapse of the Spanish Empire came in 1898 during the Spanish-American War. The United States defeated Spain and seized its remaining major colonies, including Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. After this defeat, Spain was no longer considered a global imperial power. Although the empire fell, its legacy remains visible across the modern world. The Spanish language became one of the most widely spoken languages on Earth, especially throughout Latin America. Spanish culture, architecture, religion, and traditions continue to influence millions of people today. Cities founded during the colonial era still stand, and many countries retain legal and cultural systems shaped by Spanish rule. At the same time, the empire's history remains controversial. Spanish colonization brought Christianity, trade, and cultural exchange, but it also caused violence, slavery, forced labor, and the destruction of indigenous civilizations. Millions of native people died from disease, warfare, and exploitation following European arrival. The rise and fall of the Spanish Empire changed world history forever. From the voyages of Columbus to the conquest of the Americas, from unimaginable wealth to catastrophic decline, Spain's empire shaped global politics, economics, and culture for centuries. Its story remains one of the most dramatic examples of how power can rise rapidly, dominate the world, and eventually disappear.